Welcome to episode 94 of Scar Bearers. I'm Chris D.T. Gordon. As always, it's a pleasure to have you here with me today and helping me out on the back end of this production are Nate and Britton Barron. If you want them to work their magic on your productions, reach out to them at Nate Barron. Well, folks, we are in the month of February. It is still cold if you're in the Midwest. And unfortunately, I've said it before, 2022 did not change the problems of 2021. That means that our young people, our high schoolers, our college students, those in the military are still going through issues that might benefit them by having some greater sense of gratitude, positivity, and resilience to help them through those challenges. If so, please reach out to me at chrisdtgordon.com so we can start a conversation and I can use the attitude of gratitude to help them with those challenges. Well, today, speaking of someone who helps others with challenges, I'm greeted by my new friend, Jennifer Chapman. Jennifer, how are you today?
Hey, Chris, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it. So as I was getting to know you, Jennifer, I learned that you and I have something in common. We experience our life-changing events in a very surprising way. Now, my audience knows my story of how I contracted necrotizing fasciitis, and it's not very common for a marathon runner to do so. You have a similar story, and I'd love it if you could share that with us, please.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm 39 now, but yeah, I had this epiphany when I turned 34. Actually, I was in corporate sales and cruising along, but when I turned 34, I had this moment hit me that my mom had passed away at 34. So my story started a long time ago. We can circle back to that if you want to, but I was 11 at the time. So to lose my mom suddenly at 11 was obviously life-changing and has impacted my life so much. So to turn 34, I had that moment, like she was 34. I still feel so young. I have so much I want to do and accomplish and be. And then 9 months later, and I will share that I'm also one that I was always an athlete and took care of myself and, ate well, ran a lot, did boot camps, but I suffered a life stroke at 34.
Wow. And so what were you doing when you had the stroke?
Yeah. So, I ran like 4 or 5 miles the night before, felt fine. And then the next morning I simply went to get up to go to work and was getting ready to leave the house, putting on my shoes. And I got overwhelmingly dizzy and started sweating through my clothes in the matter of seconds. And I knew like, okay, this doesn't feel right, but I'm going to lay down for a minute and hope that it subsides and deal with it later. But with stroke, that's not the case. Obviously, that is not what entered my mind was stroke, but I knew like, okay, something's happening. Long story short, I called my aunt and she could notice a change in my voice and I could notice that it was getting harder and harder to swallow. And so she's like, call 911 and I'll meet you at the hospital. So very calmly, I was able to do that and get to the hospital very quickly within probably 15 minutes. But I think unfortunately, due to my age, they didn't suspect stroke right away. So the neurologist that came in kind of wrote me off as vertigo and walked out. And my family's like, this is not vertigo. Something more is happening here. She's not able to swallow at all. She's spitting into a bucket. Let's look, let's dig deeper.
Mm-hmm. And so did you go to a different hospital or just a different provider for that second opinion?
So stayed at the same hospital. I was put into ICU. I didn't know that because luckily I kind of black out. Remember, this is all just what my family has shared with me, but they kicked that neurologist out. And the second neurologist came in about 12 hours later and checked the MRI and I had clotted in 3 places.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they find these clots, not just one clot, but 3.
Right.
Are you conscious at that time? You said that as you had lost consciousness at some point. How long had you lost consciousness?
That's a good question. I want to say probably for they kind of kept me sedated for probably 48 hours. I don't remember anything. And then they were able to transition me into a regular room and I was able to come to, but still then didn't process the word stroke at all. My brain didn't process that. It's not like that part of my brain was working, to go into panic by any means. I was just extremely overly fatigued. My head hurt. But it's not like I processed that I couldn't even get out of bed. I was not able to yet.
And when you are active, I mean, you said you ran 4 or 5 miles the night before. That alone is a shock.
Yeah.
So
it is. And I did that on a consistent basis, multiple days a week. I like I said, my family would tell you I was the most physically fit and healthiest person in the group. So with no family history of stroke. So this was an utter shock to everyone that.
If this were a different show, we would talk about the running because I'm a runner as well. And I'm sure we could share stories all day. But,
sure.
Let's go back to the ordeal. So you finally regained consciousness 48 hours later. What did you learn? And what was your family telling you? What did the doctors tell you?
They weren't really communicating to me directly as far as this is what happened. I mean, I didn't notice or comprehend, the severity of what had happened, which is probably okay. When the doctors would come in, it was to run tests, do scans, but it's not like I was really even communicating yet. If I was, I understand that I was extremely quiet. My voice was very shallow and raspy and hoarse. I didn't really process the fact that I wasn't really able to eat anything for like 5 days, which is not like me, but to know, like, I didn't even process that I feel hungry or anything.
Oh, wow.
I just can tell you I had, the biggest support system a girl could ask for. I just knew that I was never alone. I always had family or friends there visiting me, but I didn't really even take in their, emotions, feelings, any of it. I just knew that I was surrounded by love. That's, wow. That's all I could tell you.
If there are worse things than to just be oblivious to anything else but the love that you're feeling. So when did you start realizing that, okay, this is not right? There's something going on that I'm, that is not just love I'm feeling. I'm physically unwell.
I honestly don't even know if I could tell you I processed that. So I was in the hospital for about 7 days and didn't really acknowledge that part of it. I knew I was then transferred by ambulance to the acute rehab center, which was luckily across the street, but really didn't even process then, oh, I'm being wheeled into this place. Like I am unable to walk. That didn't hit me quite yet. I just knew those next 10 days in acute rehab, I was going to work harder than I've probably ever worked on myself when it comes to, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy to learn how to swallow and not choke on liquids or my medicines.
So what kind of exercises do they have?
I knew I was working on balance because that simple basic tasks that everyone takes for granted, probably, every day, right? Until you're relearning basic, just like, and hand-eye coordination, being able to walk and turn your head at the same time and not feel dizzy, because that was happening for the first few weeks. I can tell you, I mean, even getting out of rehab, I would have dizzy spells when I would stand up or sit down. Just simple, puzzles and things to kind of get my brain, reacting. But I can also share with you that leaving acute rehab and going into outpatient therapy was when I realized then that the biggest deficit that I was facing was that I had lost my left peripheral vision.
Oh, okay.
So didn't even really recognize that in acute rehab. I just knew they could tell you that I could literally only see like half of a sheet of paper. Like if I wasn't looking over here, I didn't anything. But they were to establish that much more in detail in outpatient therapy. And so still to this day, 4.5 years later, that is my daily reminder of a scar, you could say, just my wound. That is what makes me stronger every single day, is that I adapt to 40% of vision loss, for sure.
Oh, wow. So if I were to hold up my hand on my left side, I mean, could you, if I were to, I'm not sure if you see where I'm saying, could you see your hand as to where my hand would be?
No,
Okay.
no. I mean, it's almost 50-50. I mean, like
Oh, wow.
I can't see it right now looking at you.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I will, share that I went through lots of therapy and tests and things um, to obtain my driver's license a few months later. And I remember meeting with a neuro-ophthalmologist twice, to test with him. And it was a very defined line on what I can see and what I cannot see. And he was borderline on giving me my driver's license back. And that was a moment. For me to realize like that would be a complete and utter loss of freedom that I am so thankful to have. And so many people that are stroke survivors lose that freedom. And so I never lose sight of that.
That is very important because when we get busy, we sometimes forget, wow, this actually, this is something that I couldn't be able to do, or a lot of people can't do. And now, really quick, first of all, I do apologize to all the listeners who have no idea what we were doing with our hands. But with the driving, if you're turning left, do you have to turn your head an extra amount to make sure that you see that there's no one coming up on your left?
100%. Yes.
Okay.
I just have to be so, I have to be at 110%. I feel like every second I'm behind the wheel. It's not like I would promote multitasking before by any means, or have that occasion, where you're looking at your phone or changing the radio station or whatever that might be. It's like, I don't even want to, take that chance. Like I have to be on point because even if I am, as lots of people are not. I have to be paying attention at all times to everyone else on the road.
Yeah.
So I will share that like I work on my anxiety when it comes to driving.
Are there times when you will definitely not drive, like during, like after like snowstorm, or when it's really rainy, or at night?
Yes to all of those. To be really honest, that's definitely not something I get asked all the time. So I like that question, but just so people are aware, like, yeah, driving at night definitely gives me anxiety. Driving, during rush hour times and yeah, crazy weather. I'm not a fan. I will have my husband drive. Luckily, he loves to drive as much as I can, or I will leave earlier than need be to take the more scenic or less stressful route, even if it takes more time, where I think that, whatever's going to cause me less anxiety, I'll take it.
Okay. Yeah. And that totally makes sense, because I just imagine it must be like wearing blinders for a horse.
Yep.
All the time. Well,
right.
First of all, I commend you for being able to work through that, because I can just see how that could be maddening at times. And, having the mental fortitude to push on and move forward is huge. And speaking of that, I want to get to the coaching. And so, but I don't want to skip anything. So after you start doing this outpatient therapy and you get your driver's license, at what point did you decide, well, I think I want to help others?
It definitely took a lot more time and work on myself before I knew I wanted to be a coach. And the turning point for me was about 15 or 16 months after my stroke and the physical recovery, right? That was the main focus, year one. And then at my 1 year anniversary is really when it turned extremely emotional for me, and where it was like very emotionally unstable. I'm crying all the time. I don't know why. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm still working and, back to my corporate sales job, because I think at the time I wanted to feel some normalcy in my life. But I needed to control the mental and emotional struggles I was having. And so I tried traditional therapy first, and that got me to a certain point, but it's like, I needed and wanted more. And I think that's the key for a lot of not just stroke survivors, but people that have suffered, major life events, like the want to overcome their struggles, and not stay stuck.
Yeah.
And that's way easier said than done. But yeah, to reach out to my own life coach and hire one and work with her for about 8 months through that next chapter of my recovery, for sure. So I did that. And it wasn't until, really the pandemic last year, when we shut down last March, or almost 2 Marches ago. I'm still working full time, but we weren't working. That opportunity to be like, okay, what could this look like? And start to do some personal development and trainings and hiring coaches and really trying to figure out what can this look like for others? Because I just know what it did for me.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back a little bit and talk about that work you did with that mindset coach. And, for our listeners who've never done that, how often did you work with that coach? What kinds of activities or exercises did that coach prescribe to you that really helped you make those breakthroughs?
Yeah, great question. I worked with her, those first 4 or 5 months, it was meeting her in person every other week. And then it would go to like every 3 weeks, and so forth. But those first few months, it was, she was just just really holding that space for me, I think is key for a coach. And now that I am one, like, people just want to be seen and heard and valued. And she did that for me, without this unbiased opinion or judgment of, why is this girl sitting in front of me crying, and not having it together. It was like, no, I want to meet you where you are, which she did. And she's like, I want to help you move forward with this new version of yourself. I want to help you regain that confidence that you've lost, because Chris, I really lost all belief in myself and confidence. And I also didn't realize until working with her that I was grieving this old me, and that there is a new and improved version of that's ready to come. She just needs to be invited to come out. So I was really working with her to be able to do that through, daily gratitude practice for myself, and acknowledging these small wins and these small moments in each and every day. And I don't take that practice lightly. I don't think anybody should, because it's so powerful, right? To acknowledge those small wins are the big things.
You're preaching to the choir. That's exactly what I talk about. And so I 100% agree with you. I do want to go back a little bit, and before we geek out on gratitude, but when you mentioned the grieving process that you had some grief, a lot of times people think about grieving as when you lose someone, like someone dies, but we never really think of it as you losing a part of yourself. Right. And so I think that's very powerful. If I may ask, what was the hardest part of what you lost what was the hardest thing to get over or to let go of?
That's a powerful question. I think it's just that like safety and confidence that I had in who I was before. I had to really, really work hard consistently every single day to know that it's still in there. It's not coming as easily as maybe it did before. As a girl that spent her career in sales, I was definitely confident in who I was and what I was capable of doing, and building relationships with people, and just I didn't want to lose that part of her. So it was researching, digging deep into finding out, she's still in there, and she's capable of more than she was before, and it's taking a different direction to your life, and it's like stepping out of the comfort zone, really. I don't think I realized like how, as as humans, like we're trained to stay comfortable a lot of the times. And I think that's what I was doing. And so now I'm finding this, I'm allowing this new version of myself to step out and still be accepted and loved. And that was more important for me to find than I had everyone else around me, like, acknowledge that within me. But it was knowing that for myself, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of times we are you talk about your loss of sight. we all sometimes are blind to what everyone else can see. So no, I totally agree to that.
So
Okay,
true.
back to the gratitude thing. What are some of the small things? Because I love, when I speak, I talk about how I'm grateful for not only the big things in my life, especially after my ordeal, but the small things. And I jokingly talk about how I'm thankful for my right armpit because I have skin grafts on the right hand side of my body, and skin grafts don't sweat, which means I don't use deodorant on my right armpit, and I can make a stick of deodorant last for 6 months. All right. And which is, a humble brag, I guess. But what is something
Sure.
small that you have found that you would never have, been grateful for before?
There are so many stroke survivors that I've connected with that are less fortunate physically than myself. And I've so to know, like, I'm capable of standing up and taking a shower by myself without assistance, I graduated from my shower chair. I had to use it for a few months, but and to be honest, sometimes it was kind of nice to sit down and take a shower, but to know that I could, now officially like stand without assistance and do that, and to not have grab bars when using the restroom, or getting up and being able to go take a walk, and not have an assisted walking device like so many stroke survivors do. It's those are huge daily things, right, in everybody's life that they just rush through and do because they're capable of doing, and don't think, oh, there could be a day where I'm not allowed, I'm not going to be able to do this. That your mind doesn't work like that. So now it's this huge shift in perspective on what, and being able to, if I just want to drive across the street to run to the grocery store, I can do that. So many people don't have that luxury.
Yeah, that is huge. I went through, in my own recovery, I had the shower chair and I had the walker. And so I'm totally resonating with you on that. And it is absolutely correct that we have this heightened gratitude of all the simple things that we would never have thought of before.
Right.
And so that's beautiful that you shared that. Thank you so much. So, what does it look like being a coach in your space? What is, maybe walk me through a couple days or a week of how you operate now.
I love that question. And I will share that, I just went through this like 11-month coaching certification to learn how I want to serve my clients. And I can tell you, I don't know what expectations I had for this program, but it was life-changing in the sense that, we were given all these tools to be able to use on our clients, but through the program, we were using them on each other for, as practice, obviously, to learn how to deepen our own work. And I can speak for a lot of us in the program, like what true healing it still was for me, in my own recovery, and to go back to processing my first life-changing event at 11. I didn't know then that I hadn't really processed that grief at 11. Like I didn't realize I had masked it for so long by jumping into sports right away. And I thought that I was handling my emotions and frustration out in that way, but that I really just hadn't even processed it yet. So 29 years later, to be able to do that at the level I've done is one of the most powerful experiences I've had. So now to be able to learn these tools and share these with my clients that are where I've been, and not to overcomplicate it, but I think it's just asking them empowering questions, as we call them, the right questions, right, to find the answers that are within them. They just didn't know it yet. It's not like you're going to hire me for me to tell you these answers. It's realizing I just want to help bridge the gap and help you find whatever it is you're looking for. It's actually with you. It's just helping you look within, right, and go internally to find that and expose it and have it come out. And it's helping them realize I'm not going to go externally for any of it. I'm not going to go find it, in a relationship or a friend or this person or that thing, or to buy this material thing, because then I'm going to find happiness or joy. It's like, it's helping them like find that it's already would have that show up.
Yeah, that's so empowering to realize that the power of change is already within you. You just need some help coaxing it out.
Right.
And so that's beautiful that you're able to help people with that. So what is new, or what's coming up for Just Commit Coaching? And by the way, where did that name come from?
I love that you've asked that question. And Chris, I've gotten so many compliments on my name, and I will tell you, not only did I use my initials JC, but Just Commit, I will say, so my new form of exercise and truth therapy that I found about 4 years ago, since I couldn't my body wouldn't let me do my boot camp style workouts anymore. That was a little too intense for what it could handle.
Yep.
I found Pilates to be a great continued way to heal in all ways, mentally, emotionally, all of it. Mm. And so the studio name that I go to is called Just Breathe. Okay. And I love it because our instructor, through a class, she'll say something like, just hold, just pulse, just lift. We're doing all these movements, and she makes it sound like it's so simple. Oh, just do this. No, it's so hard every single time, every time she says it. So just commit, it sounds simple, like you're just going to commit, but it's so much more than that, right? You're going to commit to yourself and hold yourself accountable for I offer a 3-month package, and I'm going to ask you to do the work. And it's committing to do that work if you want to see change, because it is possible if you got that will and that want to see it bad enough.
I love that you took the name from your own practice, from your own experience, and incorporated that to what you're doing for others. And I agree that what's simple is not always easy. And so, exactly. I was just thinking about, again, my own recovery and how just do one more rep, just walk a few more steps. And so we're all capable of it, just digging deep and, reminding ourselves that we're able to do it.
100%. I love that.
Yeah. So what's coming up for Just Commit?
Yeah. So here locally in Indianapolis, I've built such a great community and network of other coaches and like-minded professionals. So working on a couple of collaborations here with a couple other female coaches to empower women around here to, create change within them. So I've got a couple of kind of small group VIP days coming up, and then also just a one-to-one package that I'm bringing for others that are willing and ready. So I offer a complimentary clarity call just to figure out, just to learn a little bit more about them, and to most importantly see, am I the right coach for them, and are they the right client for me? And if not, can I at least point them in the right direction? But those first calls are very powerful to see, are we the right fit for one another? Can I be that person for you to be your cheerleader and support and accountability to take yourself to a level that maybe you just didn't see you had before?
Now, are you available online as well, or do you operate solely in person?
With the way the world is right now, being virtual is a bonus, right? Like that's kind of one good thing, I guess, that's come out of
yes, this
pandemic, is to be able to have a broader reach for those that need it. I can, as powerful as it was to be in, work in person with my coach over this last year, I've seen just as powerful as it can be, doing a virtual call, just like you and I are doing.
Yeah, I agree that, I started the podcast because a few months prior, I decided I want to be a speaker and share my message, and then everything closed down and that was not a possibility, but I wanted to hone my skills. And so, yeah, the pandemic is totally the reason why I have a podcast now. And I've met so many wonderful people like yourself that my life has benefited greatly because of it. So it is, it's all about perspective. So where could people reach out to you if they
100%.
want to speak, if they want to meet with you, maybe for a complimentary call to see if you are a good fit?
Yeah, so where I've connected with lots of people is LinkedIn, because
Okay.
just because you've got, a job or a career, you're working at a high level, everybody's got something.
Mhm.
And I was a mentor at my previous corporate sales role, and it was one of the most exciting roles and opportunities I got was to work with sales reps that were maybe newer to the organization, but I was their outlet because they weren't calling to talk about, work. Usually they were calling to talk about life. How am I going to get through this? I'm stressed. I don't have support at home, or I can't go to my boss about this, but I need someone to go to. So the connections I've made on LinkedIn have been fantastic. I'm also on at Just Commit Coaching. Love to connect there. And then if someone just wants to, I'm on Facebook under my name right now. I don't have a business Facebook group quite yet, working on it. But email me, Jennifer at justcommitcoaching.com.
Excellent. All right. Well, you already answered my question about what you're grateful for. I usually ask people about that. So I'm just going to go right to the final question. What is your favorite dinosaur?
That is a question I've never been asked, Chris. I'll be honest with you.
That's why I ask it.
Yeah, I'm sure you get all sorts of answers. I'll go T-Rex.
All right. And why T-Rex?
I mean, he's like one of he's fierce, dominant, strong, powerful. If I had to tie it together with, he's confident in who he is, right? As a powerful species. So I'll go T-Rex.
Yeah. And even with those tiny arms, he's still ferocious. So
he is, right?
He doesn't let his shortcomings hold him back.
Exactly. Even more so why I love him.
There you go. Well, Jennifer, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you and learn about your story and Just Commit Coaching. And I look forward to you connecting with you further.
I feel the same way, Chris. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. And so, folks, if you want to reach out to Jennifer to find out more about her story or her coaching possibilities, you can find her on Facebook at Jennifer Chapman and LinkedIn as well. And then just check out justcommitcoaching.com. And again, if you want to find out more about me and what the attitude of gratitude could bring to the young people in your life, you can go to chrisdtgordon.com. You can download a free tag one sheet so you can practice the attitude of gratitude. Maybe go to my merch store and grab one of those "What is your favorite dinosaur" t-shirts so you can ask everyone you know that awesome question. All right. Thanks a lot for joining me today. Please have a great day. And remember to pass on perfection and go for greatness.